Right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Emad Mansour. I'm going to be your host for today. Somebody needs a marker. Please just write your name on both sides of this card, your name and your department. And if you are PFF or GTAP, just to make it easy for us, for you too, to know one another. Just let me start with this question. How many of you read the chapter from the book, The Reading Assignments? Everybody did? Great. Okay. Well, today is about team-based learning. And we figured the best reading we could use is actually about team-based learning. So it's not usually the case if you do this in class, but we're using team-based learning to learn about team-based learning. So, first of all, we need to get you in groups that are not from the same discipline. So, so if you're sitting next to somebody that from your own department, try to find somebody else next to him or her. And we need to do this quick because we don't have a lot of time. So do it quickly. Find somebody from another department and make a group of 3 at least. 3 people. We have about 18 today, so 3 is good. 3 people, we're not going to arrange a table, but as you are seated, 3 people, be different groups, different departments. Okay, the reason is we're doing this, we want to have diverse groups because each one can bring something different. And this is actually one of the, I'm not going to let you know this because there is actually a test we're going to do about your reading. Make sure that you did the reading. It's called Reading Assurance Test, or the RAT. So we're going to do one RAT before we get started. But before we get started even, I have a little exercise for you. I'm going to give you an envelope with 3 sets of pictures. I want you to put these in order as a group. When you're working in 3, put these in an order. What's the order? This is the question. You 3 of you together, or you need to make a group of 3. Well, they're going to be missing somebody here. Okay. All right. You can work as 2. You're 3. You got 3. And you got a group of 3. Oh, you got it already. Okay. No, there are 3. You're going to work in a 2? Well, fine, but okay. You can work with 2. The idea. You don't have one? Here. Okay, you got like 4 minutes. There are 3 sets for per group. So you work together to put these 3 sets in the right order. No, it's not 1 set. It's still 3 different sets. And they are clipped together as a set, so don't mix them up. Try to figure out what's the right sequence for each of these sets. And don't mix them up. They are different sets, okay? They are different sets, don't mix them up. It's going to be very difficult if you mix them up. No, they're not colorful, so... They are just 4 pictures. You can you join this group here? Right here. This here. Yeah. Grab your seat and in here. Okay, either way. Okay. If you figure one, you can figure them all. Okay, here we got something. Well, that's the question. There are 4 different pictures per group, and I want you to put them in order. What kind of order this would make sense?
We get to decide the order?
Yeah, you decide the order. But just keep them separate, so because they are the same, just different groups. What's the sequence? You have to put them all, spread them all so you can tell actually. There's one missing here. Yeah. See, what are these people doing here? And then they're doing here and there. What's the... Here they're like just sitting there. Oh, this is a different group. Just figure out one. If you figure out one, you'll figure them all. Can you figure out what's the problem?
Because this guy's away for a leg.
Yeah.
Can we hear from you guys now? Anybody wants to share? What would a sequence here make sense? Okay, let's hear from somebody. Somebody share. At least one group. Okay.
Like the classroom.
All right.
Where the beginning of class,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, and y'all jump in if I'm not.
Okay.
One person sort of starts it, and then there's like people start talking amongst themselves with each other, and then it's like one person's recapping it, and maybe taking their attention.
Okay. That's a good one. Let's hear another one. Someone want to share? Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. Just what ideas in there? What happened at the beginning? Where is the end? Okay, let's see. How it starts?
So we had thought it would start here,
Mm-hmm.
where this one was disinterested and everyone's kind of doing.
Everybody's doing his own thing. They're sitting together. It's supposed to be a group, right? But everybody's sitting on his own. And then?
And then it brings up a point or starts discussing.
Okay.
And
But they still not look very much interested. Somebody's starting not to talk among the group, but they're still disengaged. Everybody's still stranger to the other. Then
it looks like it gets progressively more.
Discussion is getting
Yeah,
more
more
active.
discussion,
They're getting closer.
By the end, everyone.
And by the end, they're very close, and everybody's discussing. Okay. Did everybody get this? Everybody get this? Okay, this is our called 4 stages of team development. Because a group is not the same as a team. You started a group, you set people together, you put them 3, 4 people, 5 people sitting together, and you assume this is a team and they're going to function very well. But it doesn't happen in vacuum. It takes time to develop a team from just a group of people sitting together into actually getting closer, discussing, giving feedback to one another. So this is the basic idea of today's talk about team-based learning. So what is a team? Now, after what we discussed, what could be a definition of a team?
Together, everyone achieves more.
It's a group of people, at least to start with. It's a group, right? The group of people sitting together to achieve something. They have a goal to achieve. And they work together in a friendly environment. They can give each other feedback, and they're all together working towards one goal. They feel responsible for each other, and there is an accountability there involved. In a group situation, like in the first picture, well, they're sitting together, but there's no interest. These are the 4 stages. They are called, and here this, try to remember it. It's called, first stage is forming, second stage is storming, third is norming, and fourth is performing. There are 4 stages where a group goes through to become a team. What are they? Forming, storming, norming, and performing. Okay, I got a picture for it here. Let me show a picture for it. Okay. I'll just jump these. Here, the right sequence. You didn't get it, right? Going from left to right. Okay. These are the 4 stages. Okay? So, during the first stage, it's just sitting together, trying to put some rules. Second stage, you start storming. They are not accepting somebody to become a leader for them. A little bit of resistance. And then norming, they become to understand this is a team. We have to work together to help one another. And then performing when they start actually working towards the goal and feel responsible for one another. Let's see a quick video from Michael. Have you ever heard about Larry Michelson? Did you read the chapter? He's the author of the chapter you read. Well, Larry Michelson is the founder of team-based learning. In 1970, he started this technique because his class was like 30, 40 people, and all of a sudden now he has to teach like 120 people. So I had to come up with something to help him keep the discussion going. So just a little thing here. Okay. That's actually Larry himself talking.
One of the magic things about team learning is that you really end up with teams. They don't start out that way. And what we want to do with the segment you'll see next, is to show you the evolution of how the groups look as groups in the first class period or two, and how they look later on as they really have formed into teams. And you'll also notice some differences in the interaction. There'll be a lot less hesitancy about challenging each other, and that's absolutely critical from a learning standpoint. Probably the best single way to get an idea of how well the team development process is going is to physically look at the groups as they're working together. And early on, what you see is that they do a very, very poor job of managing their space in several different ways. In this group, what's happening is that in spite of the fact that they have the ability to move their seats anywhere they want to, they're sitting in a long, strung out oval. And even more importantly, what tends to happen when they're doing it is that the minority students who have difficulties getting into the conversation anyway tend to sit on the end, and that's taking place here. You see the same thing happening here in this group. And in fact, it's even more pronounced because the people who are most engaged in the discussion are sitting almost in front of an Asian woman, or the Asian woman who you see sitting out of the group and with her arms folded, obviously not feeling part of the group. In this group, you see two things happening that again are characteristics of the newly formed groups. One is that they are making decisions by voting, and that happens because of the fact that they have difficulties openly disagreeing with each other. The other thing is that, again, they're managing their physical space poorly. You've got a situation where you've got a chair that could be moved out that's sitting in the middle of the group, which means that they have to sit further apart. And the other one is that there's an extra chair even in the circle. Another concern about the team development process is, can it even happen if you've got a large fixed seating classroom, which is always the case if you've got large classes. And what you see here is a number of instances where the groups, and these are groups that are now teams, are actually working together very effectively, finding a way to be face-to-face and to discuss their differences, even when the physical barriers are clearly there. They found a way to work around them. Another characteristic of the groups that have evolved into teams is that they're really interested in what's going on in the team. You see this team celebrating getting a correct answer, and that's very characteristic of what happens once they begin to feel like a team. The other thing is that's even more important from a learning standpoint is that they have no hesitancy to challenge each other if they have a difference of opinion. It's now become, for these kids, more important to be right than to be polite.
Element of diversity, so you can't predict those. I figured that would be like talking about yeah, you can predict the norm, like predicting norm. Cohesive, and we all pretty much agree on it.
No, but experts like you're in like no, it's like math.
He knows. He works for him on it.
Right. His position as far as like where he works, like his position.
It's not legitimate. That's whenever you're doing management, is you're in human affairs. I think it's just.
Okay, so what's the difference between team and group? What's the difference between a group and a team?
The group would still be just a bunch of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
The team's more collaborative and interactive.
Okay, so yeah. So remember next time you say I'm doing a team-based learning and you're just putting some students in a group for one class, this is not team-based learning. You read the chapter, right? You sure? Okay, we're going to do, actually we're going to demonstrate how to do team-based learning by starting with this tip. It's going to be an individual test for everyone to do. You have 10 multiple choice questions and you have 10 minutes. So, and this is individual, no cooperative, no collaborative learning here. So, okay.
Is it an open book?
No. This is a closed book test. No, you're supposed to be reading the chapter before you come, right? Okay. And what do we have here? I think I have like 20 copies. Okay, that number. Oh, one more. Good. Okay. Anybody else? Somebody get to heart. Right, this is an individual test. And the clock's ticking. Let me give you a tip here real quick. I just put in front of you a sheet like this, scoring sheet. So just to make it easier for you, you put your answer on the sheet you're given and also on this sheet. But here is a bonus for you. If you are not sure what the answer is, you have to put 4 points here for each question. Okay, on your right answer. Let's say your answer is A, so you put 4 and A. Okay, 4 points. If you're not sure 100% it's A, you can divide these points like 2 on A, 2 on B, or 1 in each if you're not really sure which one it is. So you still get some credit.
I can do 1, 1, 1, 1.
You can put all ones, but yeah. So you get this? So you can put 1, 2, or you can put 3 and 1, 1 and 3, 2 and 2, or all ones, or just 4. If you're sure the correct answer is, just put 4. You put what's the score from 1 to 4? Don't put just a check mark in your scoring sheet. Put a number there. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. You can put, but you have to put a number on this scoring sheet. Yep. If you're a team of 3. If your team is done, put your answer, the scoring sheet into this folder. We got 6 teams here, 6 groups. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Oh no, just yours. Your group only. You working with this group?
Yeah, he was.
Okay, we'll have. So we. Oh, what's your name? Nick? Okay, you can work with this group as well, okay? Because there are 2 of you here. Well, you can join your program. Yeah, okay. Nick, will you move with this group here? No, there. You have the test. You have, they're missing one. Because we already started.
I didn't put it in.
You gonna move that? Okay, just leave this in. Yeah, come here.
We're saying that.
You done put them in the, everybody's done?
Building, we should be able to name.
You done? Okay, you good? It's yours.
Where's yours?
Scoring sheet in the folder. Everybody's done? Let me get your folder. Oh. Sure, done? All right. Yeah. No, this the scoring sheet. Only the scoring sheet, the little sheet. You keep your test with you. Of course, put your name on the scoring sheet, right? Yeah? I need only the scoring sheet into the folder as a group. More, one more, two, we're done?
No, we're just waiting.
Okay. Oh, we have to put the score on the sheet, 4s or 5. The same as in your test. Just need the, this. Okay. So you had this as individual test. Now we're going to do what is called a group test, okay, or a T-RAT. This is a tip for you. You're going to do this through the IFAT sheet. How many of you have seen this sheet before? You ever seen this before? It's like scratch sheet. You have 4 cells, A, B, C. You start scratching according to your group consensus on the first question, okay? And you decide it's the right answer is, let's say, A. So you scratch A. There is a star under one of those that you know is the correct answer. So if you get the star from first scratch, you get 4 points with a group. There's a T. If you get it from a second time, you get 2 points. If you get it from a third time, you get 1 point. And of course, if you get it 4th time, it's nothing. So you get this? So you have to discuss the question thoroughly before you decide, because this is going to be collected afterwards and wait. Is the group here? Okay? All right, I'll hand you this. And you're going to go over your exam one more time, but as a group. And you decide what's the correct answer before you scratch it. Okay, we're going to go question at a time for all the teams. So just give me your score for that question. 4. Team number 1, question number 1. 4. Team 2. 2. 3. 1. 4.
4.
Okay, 5.
2.
2.
3.
3. Okay.
Cheater.
Last one. 1. 4.
Yeah, by 1 point.
2.
2.
2.
4.
Yeah,
Four.
we didn't discuss much about it, right? Yeah.
So team 3,
Okay,
question 2 should be.
Now I'll give you your individual score back. You can look at it and you put where it was in 1. Yep. You can add them up.
Would you like to appeal and examine Team 1's score sheet?
What?
Yes.
Would like to
3. Yeah. Please remove the team from score from here was just added accidentally. 4. 5. 6. Add them up and now put your team score on the individual score sheet and you compare those.
How do you go about making these?
These are sold by a certain company for 500 a piece, 500 pieces for $85.
Now, do they have like the stars pre-printed and everything? You have to change it.
Well, you have to put a question based on the back, not the other way.
That's what.
So it comes with a key. You would know where is the correct answer. You put this into your
So this one is C. So how do you work it? 0 and 20.
They already added. Yeah.
No, they did it.
Second time that's happened. Should be a 2.
Okay. So how is your individual score to group score? Which is better?
Team score.
Team score.
Big time, right? And the second question is, what is the question that was most problematic for you that you probably always, if you look at this, the summation here, there's one question that people got it like 2 zeros, 1, and 2. And there are questions that everybody got it correctly, all 4s. The first question, was there a problem with it? Yeah. Okay, now we have what we call appeal process. If you think you knew the piece of information, but because maybe the question was worded in a strange way, or the correct answer that we have is probably not clear for you, you have what we call appeal process, where you can actually appeal as a group. You can appeal this question, and you still can get scored for it if you can prove by evidence that that was not correct because of ambiguity or because of something else. So think of which question you think maybe the question and phrasing is not clear and we can have to change it. And in that case, you get a proof that is not clear. How can you make it clear? And what evidence from the reading that you can provide to prove your point? It's a front and back. The back got the instructions for you. And you work this as a group, not as individuals.
She went forceful on the group.
What do you want us to appeal?
If you want to
So it's based on the reading, right?
Based on the reading.
Can we look at the reading?
Yeah, now we can look. Yeah, now we can look.
I found the right answer, stop reading the rest.
Yeah, is it based on the reading? Yes. Now we can look at the reading. If you can find proof that the question was not clear, maybe the question is our answer is not the best answer. If you can prove that, you get some credit for it.
Same deal?
Yeah, sure.
So we would like, as a team, we would like to appeal.
Okay. Could you everybody just listen for a second? Just for a second. Okay, go ahead.
So we would like to appeal the wording on question 7.
Question 7.
So it reads as, for TBL exercise to be effective, all the following considerations should be true, except the assignment is impossible to complete without knowing the course concepts. That's a triple negative and very confusing.
Triple negative. Okay.
Impossible without, except.
Except. Well, except is not the best way to phrase a multiple choice question, but that's why we highlight it, make it a bold and underline, so you make sure that it's clear.
Well, it
so
wasn't clear.
It's
That's
not,
what we're appealing.
So, so it's not clear. The word except. How do you rephrase this question then?
I would say would be possible with knowing the course concepts, except being possible with knowing the course concepts.
Yes. So choice C should be reframed. It should be reworded.
Instead of this triple,
Possible.
except impossible
Without.
without.
The word without is
Yeah, I mean, it was like invert.
without negative needed. Okay. Well, you give you credit for the what did you get for that score
We got
as
it
a
right.
team?
We got 4.
You got 4. What are you appealing then?
We had to read
I got all the individual ones.
Yes. We had to convince each other,
Oh, okay.
I got 0 on the individual one.
So you should appeal the next one, not this one.
I forgot to get it right. I'm sorry.
Well, it's a good point.
So
By the way, the appeal process
But other
only
teams-
applies for the team who submitted the appeal, not for everybody else. So if another group had the same problem, they'll get credit for it. Only the team who submitted it.
Appeal.
Okay.
Also on number 7.
Oh, again?
So, since data switched to be the right answer, that leads me to believe that most of the class time should not be spent clarifying the muddiest points. It's clear. But if you look on table 1,
Okay.
the timeline in between clarifying lecture and application, that's the longest amount of time.
Okay,
So
application.
that's why we thought that clarifying lecture took the longest.
Well, in the team-based learning process, you start with the RAP. Of course, you read before you come, and you start with the written assurance test, which we're doing now. And then, if there's something not clear, you spend some time clarifying that. And then the rest of this class and the next 2 classes are spent on application, because this is done in a module. You divide the course into like 5, 6 modules. Each module will start with a RAP process and a clarifying lecture. And then, the rest of the class time and the rest of the module time was spent on application. And that's what makes the team-based learning very effective. It's basically focusing most of the time on the application of the concept. You clarified briefly, very short. Very short.
But based on table 1, if you look at the bottom on those tick marks, it looks like...
Well, you just have to take it in context. You just look at the table. You have to read the...
Emad, I have to agree because I watched the video like last night before I came to this, and they went through this whole the scratch off procedure and everything that we did, but the majority of the time was, or a lot of the time was spent in the groups at the tables instead of a square. They had round tables. They spent time in a group session clearing up things and figuring out what the right answer was.
Yeah, because as I said, it's not done in a 150 minutes class. This process is not complete in 50-minute class period. If you have a 50 minutes class period, you can only do probably the RAP, and then you clarify, and then the rest of the next 2 classes you spend on application.
So do we lose our appeal or do we?
Well, from the reading, this could be ambiguous, so we can accept your appeal for that. Might be the reading is not clear, so you can get credit for this in this case. Yep.
I think on that question, most is a very vague word. Most could mean 9%, it could mean 51%.
Okay, that's another point. That's a good point. Make it like clear percentage of the time. 60% of the time. Actually, yeah. So you had problems with probably question 1, question 5, question 7, and 10. So I'm going to give you a very, very brief lecture now on clarifying these points. Starting with what is team-based learning, based on that. How many of you heard of the term probably flipped classroom? Not coming, right? So team-based learning is a form of that. Probably it came very much earlier before even to think about this flip, because you do the reading before class, individual work is done before class, and then the teamwork is finished in class. Also, they spend most of the time, not most, what can we use instead of most? More than 60% of the time spent on applying the concepts and getting feedback from the professor. Team-based learning process, you see, phase 1 is preparation before class. That's you do before coming. And then you spend phase 2 readiness assurance process, which we had today, starting with individual, RAT, not mouse, RAT is readiness assurance test. It's called IRAT. And then there's a group test called TRAT. So group test, and then the team appeal takes some time, and then the instructor feedback, give you some clarification on your answers. And application of the course is phase 3. This is where you spend most of the time applying the concept. Well, it's all around time on task. You spend more time on the same task, which one principle of the effective undergraduate education principle, Checker and Gamson. I'm not sure if you heard about it. Individual work, small group, then whole class. Of course, all this work together is going to have a good impact on learning. This works depend a lot. This pie chart is very helpful because it has everything in it. You start the course. You start the course right there. 5 to 7 modules. So you divide your class like each 2 weeks, probably. I'm not sure how many classes. If you're teaching three times a week, you divide by weeks or by classes. Basically 5 to 7 modules. You start each module with the readiness assurance process. Make sure they read it before. You're assigning like 30, 40 pages of reading before coming to class. For that module, they have to read it generally, and you give them a test at the beginning. This test will be very general. It's not very detailed. Something to let you know that you just read the readings. And then that will take 50, 70 minutes, and then one other thing is we have to tell you about is the assignment that you're going to spend time on after that. You're going to design some assignment for them, like maybe multiple choice question, more detailed, more specific, with 3 options as answers. And they have to think about this answer, and you do the group work again with them using the scratch cards. They have to be significant. This is one of the problems with the questions here. It's not clear. The problem has to be significant problem, something applicable. You just don't give them, because this is about application. The concept has to be applied. It has to be the same problem. You don't give the groups different problems. All the groups have to work in the same problem. And they have to make specific choice and report simultaneously. Either you have it like written on the board, or they can give them like different cards, they raise them for A or B or C, all at the same time, so they would know what other groups are doing. And also the simultaneous reporting, that's what I said. At the end, there is a question about, what about the free riders? What if we are in a team, somebody's not doing the work, you come in class to the group late, he's not participating. What can we do about that?
Peer assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Peer evaluation.
Well, that's the answer for it. You have to do a peer evaluation. And in a peer evaluation, there are actually several forms for peer evaluation you could use. Something like this to give feedback. Just take one and pass over. You can give informative feedback during the process, where you fill a sheet like this. It's in your chapter, actually. The professor collects those sheets, and you put your name on it, of course, so it becomes civil. You cannot just, use bad words in it. So the professor collects those. Yes, if somebody's not showing and he's giving you very much hard time, what can you do? You see? But you still have to be civil. So the professor collects those feedback and sends it back to each student. So this helps two purposes. One thing that will keep you civil when you submit. The second thing that the student doesn't know, provide him this kind of feedback. Everybody got copies of these? There are 2 different forms you can use for giving feedback. There's informative or summative way. You know what's the difference? Again, informative and summative.
Formative is you don't grade, it's not graded.
It's not graded, just giving feedback to improve. If it's graded and you get points onto that, it becomes summative. So everybody has to be responsible for his work. So there's accountability involved within this process. You cannot just be free riding with other people doing all the work. We start with individual tests, as we did. And then we have a team test, also closed book. You do the complete process and then question and discussion. I'm not sure if you've seen this part. We did this behind the scene. So, Elizabeth, you got the transparencies? Yeah. While you were doing your teamwork on a scratch card, we used a transparency like this. It's right there. So we can score your answers immediately. If you have a small number of students, you can do this on your own. If you don't, you can use it as Scantrons. And there might be some ideas about doing this electronically as well, but we didn't figure it out yet. So your answer is, it has to be in the white space. That's why I told you put number from 1 to 4. So whatever is there in the white, we'll just copy it in your individual score. Make it quick. Okay? Yes. And this is very cheap, just a transparency you bring on it. So then what happened there? You put 4, you get 4, 2, and 2, only 2, so forth. And then the team test, scratch cards. And here's the application assignment. The assignment could be like an example. For example, you could use multiple choice question with 3 answers, we said. And you have them think about what's the correct answer, and you have to discuss it among themselves and pick the right answer. And you can have them all show hands or show a card at the same time. The practical element, there was some confusion about this in your question as well. The 4th practical element is permanent teams. Your teams are not changeable. You cannot come after 2 weeks and say, I don't like my team, I want to change it. Can't do that. Teams are permanent. 5 to 7 people. It's not team, we have to do it with 3 here, sometimes 2 because this is just a demonstration, but the team should be big enough with diverse people, from 5 to 7 people per group. The readiness assurance, accountability, the assignment, the proposed learning, and peer evaluation. These are the 4 keys for that. As I said, group formation, already did that. They are permanent, that's the key. The wrap, we had that, okay, no problem with that. Yeah, this is the most difficult part for the instructor actually is designing the assignment. Assignment that really promotes cooperation. You don't need an assignment that they can divide it among themselves, each one go home and finish it and they come back and put it together. That would be the worst scenario. You need it to be difficult enough that nobody can finish it by himself or they can divide it amongst themselves. Okay, and well, that also can eliminate the free riders because if it's easy and simple, somebody can do the work for others. Everybody can sit and relax. So it's not as simple as it looks like. Team-based learning, you think, well, I will test them. They do the IRAT and they do the TRAT, and we're done. We can give them some examples to work on, and that's it. Now, you have to be careful how you design the assignment. That's probably the most critical part of team-based learning. Has to be significant, same, and you have that already, no problem with that. Okay. Peer evaluation, about 10 to 30% of your score is based on peer evaluation. 50 to 60% is assigned to group work, and about 10 to 20% is for individual work. So group work is where you spend most of the time, will have the highest grade. This is the sheet you got, and yeah. Now, any question?
Do you think peer evaluation can be biased? Like, what if somebody doesn't like the...
Well, you don't do it. You don't rely on just one person. Everybody will be evaluating the others. Okay.
But what about if you have 5 people in the group and 4 of them are all friends,
right.
But this one person did all the work and they join together and say, this person did none of the work, we did all the work.
Well, the thing is, friends. You see, when you start, we did this quickly, but when you start forming groups, make sure they don't have people who are friends or from the same discipline or the same department. So that would take a little while at the beginning, but we couldn't do it here because of the limited time. But make sure that you don't make groups based on self-selected. This is the worst thing you do. Don't let them select their own groups, for sure. You have to assign the groups yourself based on objective criterion, like their department. Make sure they're in different departments or the different backgrounds. But if you let them choose their own, they will be friends over time, and then one person is not ours, so it's, you know.
If you're doing this over a course or a semester, say in an undergraduate class, you say something about the groups not changing, but students drop the class for whatever reason, things like that. How do you adjust to that?
Okay.
Say, for instance, you have a group of 5 people, 4 of them drop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good question. Also, the question is, what if people drop after the beginning of the semester? You started with a group of 5, and then 4 of them are gone. Okay? Well, you don't start assigning the groups day one. You have to wait a little bit. You don't start from class one and you do this right away. You wait a little bit after, like maybe second, third week. Give yourself time for people at least to know one another, before you really jump into that. Give them time a little bit. But if they drop, what can you do? You have only one person left in the group. We start with a larger group after anyway. You start with a group with 5 to 7. That also makes it easier. If someone drops, we still have 5 people. We still have 4 people. Right? Any other questions? Okay. There are many advantages for faculty to use this, including, of course, the interaction. If you want to be active, not just lecturing all the time, you just stand up like me here now talking to you, just lecture. It also motivates for teaching, because now you are designing assignment for the class, and you're going around answering questions and helping students understand, because you're an expert in that. You are transferring your knowledge based on their questions. So it becomes motivation. Attendance is becoming no problem for you. If you have a problem with attendance, a lot of classes, particularly large classes, there's an attendance problem there. Now it's not a problem anymore because they have to show up in class, have to be responsible. They're accountable for attendance. If they don't show up, their group will shred them to pieces at the end. If they're not doing their part of the work in the evaluation, we can't. And it doesn't require any facilities. Even in this room like this, you can do it. Anywhere you can get people to work together as a team. It doesn't require any special facility or anything at all. They can work even in an auditorium. Have you've seen the video we showed? People can work around a bench. In an auditorium, they can do it anywhere. So it doesn't really have to have like round tables with chairs. We have a classroom actually made for that. Haley have probably visited, some of you have visited the active learning classroom or the incubator classroom, where they have round tables, colorful walls that you can write on, and very interesting. That's perfect. But if you don't have that, still there are other options. Okay, so this is just a quick comparison between lecture and team-based. For pre-class work, students might study the concepts. But for team-based learning, what happens? And here you can say might study before class.
Must.
Well, they must study before class. Well, if they don't, they're going to be a problem for the whole team. Because if somebody's not doing his part every time, just hanging around and he's not doing well. If you read the evaluation, it's very, very detailed. This evaluation is very detailed about how everybody's doing. So they're going to give you scoring. Well, in the team-based learning, students are tested on the concept of actively joining in teams, solve problems, and apply. What happened in lecturing class? Texting. They're texting in class. Right, Naveed?
Playing games. Online shopping.
Just taking notes. At the best case scenario, they're probably taking notes. But they're not texting. And students study notes for final exam during lecture. But in team-based learning,
try to know it much and understand it was unnecessary.
yeah, pretty small tests. The team tests and work, and the final, the study pre-class work on the test, and they have to apply all that. So the test is not just for comprehensive and you will multiple choice. They do it one time and you're done. It's more about the work during the whole semester. If you look at the time distribution in traditional teaching, lecture takes the most part, while in team-based, what takes the most part? In class, can you read this? In class application, exercises. This is what takes all the time. Well, in summary, team-based learning is a strategy to develop high-performing teams. That most individual work is done before class, and group work or teamwork is done in class. Individual is before class, and teamwork is done in class. They apply the concepts, basically, and get feedback from the instructor. There are, the team-based learning has 3 stages, or 3 phases. First phase is reading before class, preparation, before class preparation. The second phase has 4 stages. First stage is individual RAT, readiness assurance test, individually. Second is team RAT, TRAT, team readiness assurance process using the scratch card. Okay. The third stage is the appealing. You have something ambiguous, and then you end up with a short brief lecture to clarify the confusion in parts, and then the rest of class time is spent on applying the concepts. Applying the concept. All the class time remaining, you will have questions. You give them a case study with 3 answers and let them think about it, what to pick the right answer and defend that. Okay? The 4 S's for the assignment. What's the 4 S?
Significant problem.
Problem has to be significant problem.
Simultaneous.
Simultaneous reporting. Everybody reports at the same time. Same problem, same question for all the groups. And
Specific choice.
specific choice. You have to make a choice from that. Right? Any questions? Any questions?
When you use this in class, is it something you do each class, or will it be weekly? Or
Which one? The whole process? Well, the whole.
You go in for a whole semester.
That goes usually for the whole semester like that, because you don't want to start a process like this like after midterm. If you're lecturing for 7 weeks and all of a sudden you come to work to do this, there probably might be some resistance. You have to set the stage from day one, make it active from the beginning. So it continues for the whole semester. You finish one module, like 1 unit, finished, you start the second unit with the whole process again. And the teams are permanent, so if you're responsible, because the teams do not build instantaneously, they have to take time. They might not be a team until probably 3rd or 4th week. You have to be together for a long time until they feel they are a team now. They feel the responsibility and the accountability. And they get feedback from one another formatively after each unit so they can get improved.
And are these things that you all came up with, or is this something that is purchased already,
This
created,
one?
or recreated? Or
Talk about what? The evaluation?
The evaluations, whatever.
This is from literature. They've been used before.
Okay.
If you want to make up your own, it's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, sure.
Free.
Right, make it simpler maybe. But it has to make sure that it's also summative at the end. They have to give score for each one. Make sure that they are evaluated. Any questions? Are we over time? Okay, just a couple minutes from you to give us some feedback, evaluation for this session so we can get it improved. Please. Thank you. Can I think of more questions? Go ahead. We need to collect these pictures back into the envelopes, please.